All right. Have you ever wondered about the exciting life of an accountant? Well, you came to the right place. Welcome to the Superpilotish channel. My name is Graham Wilson, and today in my basement on my computer, I will be interviewing Chad Elkins, the CPA. And we're going to start off with Chad right here. So let's see if I can bring him in. And welcome, Chad, to the
Miss,
Superpilotish channel.
well, Mr. Graham, thank you for having me. I've been wanting to do this for a while, so.
Oh yeah, we've kind of been like kind of going back and forth and that, and so I guess I could probably do one of the things that all these YouTubers like to do is like I sit back and don't do anything and then let the guest do all the work. So Chad, tell us a little bit about yourself,
Oh, I haven't had an
briefly.
interview in so long. Well, I'm a certified public accountant. I live in the U.S. I kind of split my year between Illinois and Texas, but I have my own tax practice, and I've also got a YouTube channel on here that I like to talk about getting into the industry and kind of the ins and outs of taxation. And Graham here, we really got connected through Aaron Clary because, Graham would come on some of his shows and, I'd be in there and he'll pop into mine occasionally. But I'm just, at this point, I'm just a guy that's happy to be done with busy season. So I'm just high on life.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. Okay, thanks, sir. And I guess I should probably ask here too, anybody in the chat, how's our audio, video, all
Yeah.
that fun stuff? It'd be nice to get some feedback from the audience here. And we can kind of do that on the fly. Okay, so yeah, so because this is pretty much like, it's not 100% an aviation show, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that follow me that are interested in airplanes, of course. So having an accountant on here, I would like to ask. Oh, thanks, Johnny Bravo.
Hey,
You
Johnny Bravo.
are looking good here. Thank you. And yeah, so I was just gonna ask Chad here about. So now this is the tax laws are different between the Canada and the United States. So in the United States, how does it work for if you have an airplane? Can you write off any of those expenses as business expenses? And maybe you could tell us a little bit about that, or even just business vehicles in general.
I'm going to start on the negative a little bit, but I promise I'll get positive,
Oh,
as I
good. I like
discuss
happy
it.
endings.
Yeah. So it was just this past March. Now, this is in the United States. It was just this past March where the IRS announced an initiative to increase audit activity for personal usage of corporate or private airplanes, because these have kind of been subject to a lot of abuse in terms of people, writing off the entire aircraft and all the maintenance and fuel. So I talked about this on my channel, but the IRS is getting more and more money from Congress to start going after people, particularly high net worth individuals. And I did catch this. They did announce in March that they are gunning for those that have been writing off a lot of aircraft expenses. So that's the negative I want to start with.
Okay.
But I don't want everybody to worry about that, because there are legitimate expenses for having a private airplane. Okay. Now, some of the most important ones are keeping a log of what you're using the aircraft for. Okay. Because if you have a legitimate business and you're using the aircraft to travel for that business, then that is a legitimate write-off. What the government was trying to avoid, which is what's been happening really for a long time, is like people will have their own airplane, and sure, they'll use it for a couple of business related activities, but then they'll go visit grandma, or they'll go to Vegas for the weekend. They'll
Got to
fly
take that
there.
vacation in the Bahamas.
Yeah, and unfortunately, there has been a lot of that goes on, in the U.S. at least. So I think the main thing is just to try to tie any of the use of an aircraft to a business activity. Logs are a good way to do that. You say where you're going, why you went there, and then you keep track of, it's is it landing fees or
Yeah, some airports do have landing fees. Yeah, that I could see that being a business expense. Yeah.
Landing fees, maintenance is a big one. Fuel is, of course, a big one. I can imagine there's a lot of repairs that come up with an aircraft.
Oh yeah.
But in general, if you do have a practice of some kind or a business that does require travel and you use the airplane for travel, you can do what's called depreciate it, meaning you take some of the value of it, you write it off, each year proportionally. So it's not all bad news, but I think the main theme is just be very, very careful now to log everything you're doing with the aircraft if you want to
Hmm.
deduct it. Does that make sense? Or
Yep, yep, it sure does. Thanks. That's kind of what I suspected. It's like,
yeah.
you just don't go abusing it. Like, yeah. So, okay, that's cool. And then, so if the IRS was going to find out about your airplane, maybe you're not using it specifically for business, but you're using it as a deduction or something like that. What for non-airplane owners, just in general, I think most people would be interested in finding out what would be some red flags or something that you're doing that it pops up on the IRS radar saying, okay, we got to go after this guy. So, can you think of anything that comes to mind right away that's like, okay, if you do this, you're going to get audited, something like that.
I would say particular heavy use. And it's funny, I just did a consultation right before this with somebody. They didn't have an aircraft, but we were talking about something similar. The word of the day is reasonable. Okay. Like what people sometimes have a tendency to do is to just take a little bit too much in terms of liberties with the expenses. And much like a truck or a van, an airplane is really no different. I mean, if you're going to just write off thousands and thousands of dollars of fuel or landing expenses or whatever, but you don't have a proportional business income in order to facilitate those expenses, then you are definitely going to get flagged. And so that's really the big one. Just be careful with overdoing it. There are legitimate expenses, but it's human nature to take as much as we can. And so that's when I have to sort of play bad cop with some of my clients and be like, look, this is for your own protection. Just keep it reasonable, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, say somebody was just your average Joe Blow worker guy, your Joe Blow pilot working somewhere, or a guy at a machine shop or a mechanic or something, and for just like normal working stiffs, what would you say would get them looked at?
Uh, so just normal working stiffs. Again, it all comes down to excessive expenses and recording. I mean,
Mm.
the IRS, I guess I'll be a little bit more positive here. They're not really, there's no
Thanks,
evil
man.
man behind the cloud that's like, oh, that's an airplane owner. We got to go after him. At the end of the day, we're talking about government bureaucrats that are not, trying to, get the big case and, they want to make that big bust. Just record everything, don't do anything stupid is what I tell a lot of people.
Mm.
You know what, Graham, I think this is what I would say to those who have, a regular Joe Blow, like you said. um, don't write off more in expenses than actual income you're making, from your use of the plane. I mean, that sounds like an obvious thing and people laugh, but you wouldn't believe what I've seen over the years.
Wait, so
So
you say that okay, my income was $50,000 and I wrote off 100,000 on my plane?
yes,
Oh
yes,
my God.
we don't want to see that. And I
Does
think that
not
might
compute. Does not
It
compute.
does
Yeah.
not compute. Yeah. And I think that's how, the way IRS audits work is the computer will catch you first, before a human being will. And that's how you get flagged. So keep it reasonable, keep logs, and don't be greedy. Please don't be greedy.
Okay. That sounds like that's some pretty good advice there. And so another thing that some people have started following me on this channel is because it's like there's a lot of people that are, well, recently I went down on a vacation down to El Salvador.
Nice.
And El Salvador, their official money down there is the US dollar and Bitcoin. So a lot of people down there are really into Bitcoin and stuff like that. So I had to kind of learn a little bit more about it before I went down there so I could use their money. And so there's a lot of weird things out there that can be done with new digital currencies and stuff like that, where okay, I kind of looked into it a little bit, where if you have this much, and like it's really volatile, right? So it goes up and down a lot. So if you have so much here and then you sell so much when it's up here, you're responsible for some capital gains tax
Correct.
in there. So is that the way it is in the United States? And have you had many any clients like, is that even part of your business at all now? Like, I mean, it's big in El Salvador because that's their national money, but you don't see it too much around here or in the United States, I don't think.
I have had a few clients over the past few years in particular. I like to joke on my stream. I call them crypto bros because they do kind of fit the stereotype.
Oh, yeah,
A lot of them.
they're just kind of like, hey, I can gamble with the stuff on my computer. Or...
Basically, yeah. I do see that, and you're correct. At the moment, and I don't really see this changing, is if you're going to sell Bitcoin, it does become a capital gain or loss because, there's been some losses over the years.
Okay.
That can be good or bad. The key with Bitcoin, and again, the IRS, for years now, it's been kind of frustrating for them because they want to get their hands on, that sweet Bitcoin, capital gains, not just Bitcoin, there's other cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
And the problem is that there's not always a way for the IRS to really track any of that. Like it's not like a bank statement, a 1099-B, that the IRS gets a copy of it when you sell regular stocks. It just isn't that easy for them in terms of crypto. So they are much like, auditing airplanes. They are making an initiative to really go after crypto. So again, I tell people, please keep logs of this stuff. If you can substantiate things, then you're going to be fine.
So that means if I go out and if I buy a mansion and a couple of Lambos, my income was like $10,000 last year. That kind of wouldn't work, right?
That it depends how under the radar you are with all that, with cash and everything.
I was joking, dude.
You're joking, dude. Yeah. If you get a Lambo and a mansion, I'm going to say, why haven't you invited me over yet? Is what I would say. But no, crypto is the thing. If you're honest with what you're doing, crypto, if you do pay the capital gains that you're getting from Bitcoin and have some paperwork. Really, if the IRS gets its cut, the IRS is a little bit like the mafia. Like, if they're getting their little cut.
I kind of always thought that,
Yeah,
because they really hate it if you don't pay your taxes for like 8 years, they want you.
They'll get you.
They'll
get you. They got
can't
thumbs
run.
to break.
They'll garnish your wage. I worked with guys like that, or even here. I don't know what it's like in the United States, but if you go on unemployment insurance here, and oh, well, I'll get this job over here too. But the government says, wait, I've been paying out this, and he's been working, but he's been lying and saying that he hasn't been working. Then it's like, okay, pay it all back,
That same way in the US, they do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, because I worked with a couple guys. They were like, man, I don't know if I can afford food this week. And I was like, why? You guys make decent money. He's like, yeah, I'm paying back all my unemployment insurance.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they got busted. Like, I don't know. They kept sending me the money, so I guess it was okay. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way.
That actually happened quite a bit here in the US during some of the COVID years. There were a lot of people trying to take advantage of that.
Yeah. So, I guess so. As long as they get their money, they're happy, I guess. Okay, and then I was going to ask you too, your anniversary of your channel was just the other day,
Thursday,
2 years ago, and I started my channel right around the same time as yours.
Nice.
So we're both 2-year anniversary guys here. So
I wanted to congratulate you on surpassing the 500 subscriber there, Mark.
Oh yes, and I should make a public announcement and thank you to one of Chad's friends that he emailed me. I was at 499 subscribers, and he said, "Aha, I got this person to be number 500 for me. And if I have 500 subscribers, that means I'm eligible for monetization
Yes.
if I get enough watch hours." And there's some other little stuff there with YouTube, but so you can thank that person for me.
For those that watch my channel, it was the candidate, as I mentioned. I got her to subscribe to superpilotish over here, so we got him over the hump, and we'll get you super chats.
Yeah, pretty soon. Looking forward to it. And so how's your channel going so far that you've found over the last couple of years? You have about 3,000 subscribers, I
3,000
think.
or so, yeah.
And uh, how would you say in the 2 years has it grown? Like, because did you start off where you're looking at the chat and there's like, hey, there's not too many people here, and then now you're kind of flooded with it, or?
I feel like I had a bit of a cheat code in a sense because I don't know if your fans of the channel ever visit Aaron Clary's page, but I
Yeah,
mean,
actually,
yeah,
I was there when you and him and Atham were on your first
yeah,
show. I was
that
watching
was
it here.
fun.
I was trying to
Um,
put Canadian poops in there for an emoji, but I can't get a Canadian flag or something for some
Got to
reason.
do the Mexican poops. No,
Yeah,
I'm just
Atham gets the Mexican poops all the time, but uh,
Well, so I did have a bit of an unfair advantage because I mean, Aaron Clary is a good friend of mine, and he had been
I
urging
wouldn't say
me.
it's unfair. It's just someone helping you out.
It's circumstances, yeah. But so I did have him in my corner, so he would promote streams that I was doing, and he would come on the streams pretty much. I think it was my first 20 streams or so. He was on it before I finally went solo, and it's going well. Graham, to me, it feels fun. I mean, it's just something to take my mind off my work, and I get to talk to people like you, and I get some accounting guys on there. We talk about careers, so I
Mhm.
enjoy it. It's beer money, an excuse to drink beer. So
Hey, there you go.
yeah,
So yeah, and then so when you do your show, it's to find it, people would just put in Chad Elkins CPA for a YouTube
yeah.
search or something.
Yeah, I just put in Chad Elkins CPA. I try to go on about once a week or so. Like Graham, you do it multiple times a week, right? Is it
Yeah, I do it Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon. So,
okay?
but
Cool.
yeah, that was my next question for you was because you're not always like regular on it.
Yeah,
It could be 1 week, 2 weeks, stuff like that.
that's a negative. I think I do think that I should do it like you, where it's a more regular day and time. It's just my schedule's all crazy
Yeah,
because
that's what it
yeah.
depends on. I got a extreme flex schedule, so I can pull it off. But
Mm.
yeah, okay. So there you go. Channel's doing great. Everything's cool. And because I've been wanting to ask, like okay, so in right now you're in Texas, is it?
I am. I
Yeah,
call it the
and then
Southern Command. Yeah.
your office is in Chicago, right? Or
That's technically where my business is based. Like I don't have COVID ended up making me fully virtual because it created a bit of a shift. I always felt like we don't really need to sit in front of each other if I'm going to do your taxes. I mean, everything's kind of digital now. Why don't you just send me everything?
mhm.
And but you always got the occasional boomer who's like, I need some FaceTime. But I
Hey
actually
man, I resemble that remark.
you remember that, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's nice to sit, in front of somebody to do their taxes. So I still do it occasionally, but I ended up ditching my office about 2 years ago just
Oh,
because
you
I
did,
was
eh? Oh,
yeah, I
okay.
was paying rent on a little office and near where I live, and nobody would see me. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'll just send it to you." So I'm like, "I'm just gonna move out of here."
Yeah, well, you might as well. Why spend the money if you're not using it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, Graham, I had a question. Do you have to pay for space for your airplane? Like, how does that work? Do you just have to store it somewhere, or
oh, well, I don't actually have an airplane.
oh, you know, okay. Oh
No.
man,
I'm asking, are you kidding? I'm a pilot. I can't afford a
you
plane.
can't afford.
But
Yeah.
you got to be an accountant to afford a plane.
Oh no, stop that. No, we need to get you a Lambo and a mansion. That's what
Yeah,
we
there we
need.
go.
Mm.
Come on, Bitcoin. But yeah, so the but what I wanted to know was that because you're well in Illinois, you're living kind of around Chicago-ish, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I was wondering how now I haven't been to Chicago in oh, probably 30 years or so.
Wow.
So, yeah, and then so it's kind of like I was thinking, well, Chad's still living there, and I was wondering if you can confirm or deny for me that Chicago is like, oh, this is a nice neighborhood, and oh, that's maybe not the best neighborhood.
Yeah, I recommend to people always have somebody with you if you're exploring Chicago for either the first time or you're not familiar with it, because it can unfortunately be easy to meander into an area of the city where maybe you don't want to be, especially at
Yeah,
night.
well, I mean, I've grown up across the river from Detroit, so it's kind of like that over there too. It's like this part of Detroit, it's not bad. This part, mm.
Actually, Graham, I was going to tell you, I've been to Detroit, and I was younger. I was of the age where it really would have benefited me to get across the lake there and make it to Windsor. I didn't get to do it, but I
Oh,
really wanted to.
well, it's kind of like here. It's kind of like a pilgrimage for the kids over in Detroit because it's like
Yeah.
like the drinking age here in Canada is 19 or in
Yep.
Ontario, 21 in Michigan. So soon as they, as soon as they, a lot of the guys turn 19, they're on their way across the river to to visit Our Lady's, the Windsor Ballet, as we call it.
Windsor
So
Ballet. Well, I was 20 when I was well, with some buddies in Detroit, and I'm like, yeah, we got to get across the river, but we didn't have our passports, so.
yeah. In the old days, pre 9/11, people used to come over all the time without identification.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, you didn't need a passport. Technically, you needed a birth certificate, but all these Americans would just show up a carload of these kids. They
Yeah.
just flash their driver's licenses and it's like, yeah, we're going to the bar. Like, all right, go
Oh,
for
good
it.
old days,
We'll
man.
take your money. Come on over. But
Yeah.
yeah, so the border is so gotten significantly tighter since then. So
Do you make it into the US often, like Detroit, or you pretty much stick?
here and there.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's not. The thing is, it's gotten a lot more expensive to cross the border there because
Oh, has it?
you have to. There's two ways of getting there right now. Is through. There's a tunnel that goes underneath the river, and there's a bridge that goes over top. And
Mhm.
every time you go over there, it's like $10. Then you come back, it's $10. So it's like $20 just to get over there.
Oh, geez.
And it's like for anything in Detroit, I can kind of get that in Windsor, anyways. But it's I don't know. Yeah, every once in a while, I'll pop over there and do
Hmm.
do this or that, and yeah, uh, yeah, very familiar with Detroit. I think I made a video on my channel here. I had a GoPro and I took my motorcycle over there and drove up the main street. So
Cool.
Woodward Avenue, yeah, and so yeah, that was that. So Chicago is you recommend going with somebody that knows where to go.
Yeah, I mean, in general, you should be fine because most people that visit the city, they stick to downtown, Magnificent Mile, shopping, Navy Pier.
Okay.
That's all fine. It's just if you're visiting somebody and you're going there via motorcycle or vehicle, maybe just talk to somebody about the best route to get there.
Yeah, because there was it's kind of like that here in Detroit. It's absolutely perfectly safe downtown. Like
Oh yeah, Greek
it's all
Town and
really
all
nice.
that.
It's
Yeah.
gotten way better than it was 30 years ago. And
Hmm.
yeah, there's there, and then there's kind of like outside of downtown, hit or miss.
Yeah.
Although it's getting better and better. And then once you get out to the suburbs, well, it's the suburbs, and everything's cool in the suburbs. So yeah, there was that I was gonna say.
You were carjacked. Wow, Harold Cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Oh, 1998. Actually, I was over. Yeah, that's about when I was there. Well, actually, the funny thing was when we were in Chicago, we were trying to get on, what is it, I-94 that goes
Mhm.
back to Detroit.
Yep.
And so we're like, oh, we're leaving our hotel, and it wasn't nighttime. And so we were looking at the signs to find the interstate, and it's like, oh, okay, there. Oh, we missed that. Oh, there's another one there, but we missed our exit. So I asked just some guy in a car. We said, "Hey, is this the right way to get to the I-94 to go to Detroit?" He's like, "Oh no, you don't want to go there.
Yes.
Drive another 2 miles up the road, and then get on that exit or something like that." And we're like, "What?" So, anyways, the way it was going, it was back then. It was Cabrini Green was around,
Ooh, yep.
and so like we were on our way. He's like, "No, you don't want to go in Cabrini Green,"
No, you do not.
and we're like, "What? What's that?"
Well, they actually, so yeah, Cabrini Green was a very dangerous area in the 90s, in the
Yeah,
early
and that's what it was.
2000s.
It was yeah. So
They've since gentrified that whole area. Like the projects were kind of knocked down, and now it's full of yuppie townhomes and
yeah,
everything.
because
So
it wasn't it they kind of took a neighborhood and kind of demolished it
yeah,
downtown, and then they moved everybody out to here in your nice new high rise,
yeah,
and then they it wasn't too long till they weren't so nice, and then
exactly. There were
yeah.
a lot of. It's just funny. I was there a couple weeks ago, and it was just Whole Foods, Anthropology, Sephora, all these fancy stores.
Oh,
And I'm
really?
thinking, man, 20 years ago, this place was a dump.
Yeah, well, yeah, cities evolve. So,
Mm.
yeah, there we go. So, okay, that kind of answered just about all the questions I kind of had for you there, Chad. And I'll take a look in our chat and see if anybody has
Yeah, we got some
any-
good comments in there.
anything to say, any comments, questions, and I'm glad. What we got here? Okay, I'm gonna go all the way from. I don't have too many people in the chat, so I can go right back to the beginning. Actually, this is quite the chat today.
Oh yeah,
This is
cool.
pretty good.
All right. Yeah, I'm
okay.
looking through it too.
Yeah, let's do. Okay, now Ranch always he likes his dad jokes and stuff like that. So it's like go over the word write off. What does that mean? Deduct? Yes, that's what we're.
Write-off is a bit of a slang term in the tax accounting word, but
Yeah,
yeah, there's kind of there's deductions and credits. Generally, you want to say
yeah.
expense
Well,
deduction.
you see,
Yeah,
Wrench is also a pilot, and if you write off an airplane, that's never good.
that's yeah.
So,
When I think write-off, sometimes I think like a total loss, like a wreck or something. That's
yeah,
a
yeah,
write-off.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here's another one. Can an individual depreciate, or is that just for business?
Unfortunately, if you're going to depreciate an airplane, there has to be a business involved because you can't you can't depreciate or write off, as they say, any expenses if there's no business. I mean, that's just there's really no place to put it on the tax return if you don't have a business. So yeah, you need a business for that.
All right. And Harold says, be honest with the IRS and call the ghost of George Harrison.
Goes to George Harrison.
Did he owe the IRS a ton of cash or something like that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, is that it?
Or actually, no. Maybe he was the one that wrote, because I'm the tax man. Blah, blah,
Yeah, that's right. The Beatles did have that song. Yep.
blah. Okay. Right.
There's some good activity in there.
Okay, I've done. Okay, here we go. Rich, he's done his own taxes for decades, but now the house is paid for. The standard deduction is much higher than my deductions, so I can't deduct airplane expenses.
This is it's a good question. It's a bit of a common area of confusion. And again, this is the United States. The standard deduction has absolutely nothing to do with any business deductions because the standard deduction is just we call it Schedule A. That's just what either everybody gets, or you can put your mortgage interest and real estate taxes, again, completely separate from any business deductions, which would go on a Schedule C. So to answer the question, they're completely unrelated. The fact that there's a higher standard deduction does not mean you cannot deduct any airplane expenses because it goes somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's this? Harold Cheeseburger is reminiscing. The border was always relatively tough. The American customs are way scarier now.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the funny thing, if you ever are going between the border here between Canada and the United States, it's funny that it seems like the Americans are very concerned about who's coming in, and the Canadians are worried about what's coming in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's like the Americans are all over, like, what are you here for? Like, just as an example. Well, actually, no, it's just a funny thing there that I mean, before they never had guns at the border here on the Canadian side. they're just like security guards kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you go over to the States, ooh, they got guns there, man. Wow, that's wild. So you're always a little bit more on edge going over there. And we went camping in Michigan, and I had a bunch of camping stuff in the back tents, whatever, sleeping bags,
Yeah.
and then so the guy is looking in the back of the car. He's like, "What's in the back of the car? Or what are you doing here?" It's like, "Oh, we're going camping." "What's in the back of the car?" Camping stuff.
So they just kind of search you at will, right? Or do they?
They can, yeah, I don't know. They just want you to answer the questions. Don't give them anything extra. They just want to
Yeah.
hear, I have to hear this word. I have to hear this word. I have to hear this word on your way. Have a good trip. But yeah, don't give them your life story. They don't like that. And what else? Yeah, there's lots of little tips that if you grow up in this area, you know exactly how to answer, and you go
Mhm.
right through. But people are like, "Oh, I'm from Iowa. I'm visiting my granddaughter, and she just married somebody up in Toronto," and they don't want to hear that.
Oh,
Are you
geez.
bringing anything in? Well, I'm bringing a lunch. No, what they're asking is like, are you bringing any booze or cigarettes or
Yeah.
something that we can tax? We need our tax money.
They need their taxes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So everybody needs their tax money. So there we go. Okay. I'm not going to pick up Harold's other little comment here, but it's pretty funny. Okay. Jordan's asking, Chad, do you have Canadian customers?
I have had them before, but unfortunately, it's kind of different enough. Like the Canadian tax returns are different enough from the U.S. tax
Yeah.
returns that I can't really take on Canadian clients, unfortunately. I have clients that are from Canada that live in the U.S., so I do their U.S. tax return if that
Yeah,
counts.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because before you came on, I was doing a little bit of research about what it takes to become an accountant in Canada. So for your show, if anyone's wondering about that, I'll save you the Google search. It's pretty much like the States if you want to be a CPA,
Yeah.
where you have to get an undergraduate degree, and then apparently you work with somebody with an accounting firm while you're doing your master's, something like
Correct.
that.
You can
Or
also do it after you get your master's, and, it's funny, that anniversary show I just did a couple days ago, we were, going over ways that they're trying to change this because there's actually quite a shortage of, not just certified public accountants, but accountants in general in the United States. Do you know if it's like that in Canada, or is it?
yeah, that actually, I researched that too for you.
Yeah?
There is a shortage here, just like the United States.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
well,
Wow.
it seems to me like there's a shortage of skilled pilots. There's a shortage of any type of skilled trade, accountants, electricians, like
Mhm.
you name it. Try to get your car fixed. The old guy
Yeah.
shut down his shop. A car, actually, airplane mechanics. Those guys are disappearing left and right.
Oh, geez.
So yeah, it's that's a real shortage there too. So it's like it's strictly demographics of the baby boomers disappearing, I think, so
That does not make me feel safe when I fly.
well, but the thing is, if you're just flying if you're flying like a regular, passenger jet somewhere, you're flying from Chicago down to
Mhm.
wherever, Dallas or something in Texas.
Yeah.
Well, the advantage there is that the airlines will pay the mechanics the best.
Mhm.
So what happens is that they scoop up everybody from all the little shops, and then so all the little shops here for the little airplanes, they're kind of scrambling around, and I wouldn't say that the quality suffers at all, but it's just longer to get your plane serviced because there's not enough people to do the work.
Mhm.
So I would say you're absolutely safe flying, a big jet over in the United States or anywhere here, really.
Oh, good, because I do make this trip quite a bit from
Yeah,
Illinois here down to Texas, yeah.
absolutely fine. They're taking up the best and brightest. And the guys that fly the little airplanes like me, well, I gotta wait for the plane. It's in the shop. So yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, what else we got here? Okay. So okay, that's just about everything from our chat. And we're right around half an hour or so.
Alright.
So yeah, I guess we'll just kind of wrap things up. And actually, I'll kick Chad out of the studio here, but hang around, Chad, because I will chat with you a little bit later.
Sounds
You
good.
can see where Chad has no over here, elkinscpa.com. Yeah, I got a weird fisheye lens, so it looks like my finger's going away from the sign.
Right there.
But anyways, virtual weird reality here. And so yeah, I can check him out on the check out Chad Elkins CPA on his YouTube channel. He's got lots of episodes, and if you ever want to know anything about accounting in the United States, particularly, he's your man. And so just thanks a lot, Chad, for coming on here.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, okay, cool. Come back anytime. And yeah, so enjoy the rest of your day and stuff like that. And like I said, I'll talk to you
hang around
in just a second.
All right.
Okay, bye. Okay, everybody. So thanks for showing up in the chat here today. Thanks to Chad Elkins for showing up also. And I guess we'll just kind of shut her down. Today is Monday, Victoria Day, so it means I gotta replace the filter in my furnace, as you do. Oh, Vanessa Kitty, you just popped in and I'm leaving. Well, hi and bye. So there we go. I'll be back on Wednesday because I do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Eastern. And we'll just kind of shut her down. So thank you for watching. Bye.